Hi everybody, thank you for coming to my presentation. I'm Mordechai Guri from Ben-Gurion University of the Negev in Israel. And today I'm going to speak about a topic which I must admit is commonly considered an exotic topic, attacks on AirGap networks. Or more specifically, we are going to see how attackers can leak or what we call exfiltrate information from AirGap networks in a part of a cyber attack. Little bit about me. I'm a computer scientist. I finished my PhD under the supervision of Professor Yuval Elovici 2 years ago. I'm currently the head of research and development of the Cybersecurity Research Center in the Ben-Gurion University. I'm also a co-founder of Morphisec endpoint security startup in Israel. And my research mainly focuses on topics like APT and rootkits, security of embedded systems, low-level attack and defense, mobile security, and security of air-gapped networks. You can read a nice profile on my research on Andy Greenberg article in Wired from earlier in this year. And all papers and videos that I'm going to show you during this presentation can be found in my AirGap research page. At this link, you are invited to visit it because we are updating it with new research from time to time, as you will see in the near future. So, the presentation is organized as follows. At the beginning, I'm going to give some short background about the topic of AirGap. Then I'm going to talk about the threats and attack vectors on AirGap networks very shortly. And in the main part of this presentation, I'm going to discuss the AirGap jumping techniques, what we call in the academy AirGap cover channels. We are going to see some video clips which demonstrate the feasibility of these attacks. And if we have time, we also talk about evaluation and the countermeasure for the AirGap cover channels. So the idea behind AirGap isolation is very simple. No matter how many layers of security you add to your network, if your network is connected to the internet somehow directly or indirectly, attackers will find a way to bypass all your security mechanisms, all your firewalls, IDS, IPS system, to compromise the network, put the APT or a malware in the network, find your valuable, secret, confidential, whatsoever data, and leak it out to reside through the internet. So the idea behind the AirGap says that if you really want to keep attackers out, simply disconnect your network from the internet and isolate it physically and logically from the outside world. And it's true that most of people thinks about AirGap security in the context of military and defense systems like protecting top secret networks and so on. But actually today many type of organizations and industries using AirGap networks to maintain their data, including critical infrastructure, command and control centers, healthcare, banking and finance sectors, and so on. But despite the high levels of isolation, AirGap networks are not bulletproof because attackers can use sophisticated attack vectors to compromise these networks. For example, supply chain attacks, malicious insiders, deceived insiders. All these are type of sophisticated attack vectors like attacker used in the past to compromise even AirGap networks. And from time to time, you can see on the news more news about another AirGap network that was compromised in some nation-state attack. So we know that from the past that motivated attackers can infiltrate and compromise AirGap network, and what we ask ourselves in the research, that the attackers that compromise the network, and as foothold in the network already, at some point he would like also to exfiltrate some data out, for example files, password, encryption, keylogin data, and so on, but he doesn't have an internet, so how can he leak or exfiltrate information from these isolated AirGap networks? And this is what our AirGap cover channel is about. And in order to exfiltrate this data, the attacker has to resort to what we call non-standard or non-conventional out-of-band communication methods, and or more academically, we call it AirGap cover channels. So, here we go. AirGap cover channels can be classified into 7 main categories: the physical media, acoustic cover channels, electromagnetic, magnetic, electric cover channel, optical, and thermal. we are going to go through them in the next slide, and obviously we'll be able to go through them only actually extremely briefly, but you are invited to read the papers for more information later on. So the physical media is what I would call the conventional or the traditional way to jump the air gap, and the idea is very, very simple. Physical media usually used to be flash drive or similar are commonly transferred from internet connected computer into the internal network, AirGap network, and from the AirGap network to internet connected computer to transfer files, data, and so on. So attackers actually can exploit this event to slip a payload into the AirGap networks or to exfiltrate data out by hiding data or payload in the USB flash drive. And interestingly, most, or actually many of the known APT implemented this type of covert channel in their code, including Turla, Miniduke, Funny, Red October, Project Sound, and REMSEC. All the known APT already know how to jump the air gap using physical media. So that's the conventional method for jumping the air gap. And now let's move to the more exotic air gap jumping techniques. Let's see the following video. Just a minute. I lost me. Sorry. Look at this computer. This is typical AirGap computer. Have no internet, no network, and of course no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. In this case, this AirGap computer maintains a Bitcoin wallet. When a Bitcoin wallet maintains an AirGap computer, we call it cold wallet. And the main reason for keeping cryptocurrency wallet in AirGap computers just to protect the private key from online attack. But this is just an example. It's just a use case. It could be any type of AirGap computers that store sensitive secret information. And you can see this is actually the private key. This is the main asset that kept under AirGap. That's actually why we keep this wallet under AirGap. If the attacker steals this private key, you actually own all your Bitcoin wallets. And we can see that despite of the AirGap isolation, the malware could exfiltrate the private key to a nearby mobile phone in less than 3 seconds. And by the way, the mobile phone could be even 10 meters from the computer and still works. So how it works? The idea is simple. That's what we call near ultrasonic modem. The human ear range is limited to 18 kilohertz, and computer speaker can generate acoustic signals up to 24 kilohertz. So we have this range of between 18 to 24 kilohertz, what we call near ultrasonic range. It's not fully ultrasonic, but still it's inaudible to human. And malware actually can use it to modulate and transmit data over this 6 kilohertz of band and transmit it to the room. And if we have any kind of receiver in the room, for example, hidden microphone or smartphone in the room, it can receive the data, do a little signal processing, demodulate it, decode it, and send it to the attacker through the internet. And that I've said, it has a very long range. It can work to up to 10 meters from the computer. So it's nice, but in order to prevent this type of covered, acoustic covered channel, AirGap computer might also be kept in an audio gap. Audio gap computer is a computer that audio hardware might be disabled or speakers are not allowed at all. And the question is, if now we have AirGap computer, which is also audio gap, if the attacker can still leak or exfiltrate information acoustically from such a computer. And let's see the following video. We call it transmitter acoustic data exfiltration from speakerless or audio gapped AirGap computers. Again, AirGap computer, in this time you also have no speakers, so it means that the audio gapped, and I jump a little the video to see. We see that here we are leaking some kind of encryption key to the nearby mobile phone on some type of acoustic signals. And you might understand by the name, the sound is missing here, but there are some background noise in the lab to show you that this covert channel works even if there are some background music in the lab. And actually what we use here, computer fans to transmit data acoustically, because every computer have between 3 to 4 fans, the CPU fans, GPU fans, case fans, and the power supply fan. And actually malware can change the speed of these fans and actually affect what we call a blade pass frequency, which is the main tone that the fan generates. Actually, man cannot perceive this tone because it's mixed in the background, but with a little bit of signal processing, it can be received by a mobile phone in the area, and the data can be demodulated and sent back to the attacker. Again, this type of covert channel can work even if the phone is 8 meters from the computer and in AirGap plus AudioGap computer. So now what? We know that the fan's making a lot of trouble, so we move to AirGap computer, that it's also AudioGap, and we are disabling the fans. We move to water cooling, and the question if it's safe enough that the attacker will not be able to leak any information, and you might be guessed that the answer is no, because usually many computers are equipped with hard disk drive that has a mechanical actuator arm, and when this actuator arm is moved between different tracks on the disk, it can make a noise. And again, if a malware can intentionally play with the movement between the different tracks, it can generate acoustic signals, modulate data, and transmit it to the attacker. And I just show you short of this disk filtration demonstration. Here, no network, no Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, no speakers, and in this computer, the fans were disabled. And I jump forward to show you. And in this case, we leaked the hard drive encryption key to the nearby mobile phone. And again, the data was transmitted to the attacker through the internet. So, in all the acoustic methods that I showed you up to now, we need some type of receiver, microphone or mobile phone in the area of the computer. And the question is, what if we don't have any type of microphone or smartphone in the area? Some places are quite restrictive about this. Smartphone might be forbidden in the room, or microphone might be disabled or muted, and so on. And the question is, if you have a computer with a speaker, the attacker has a malware in the computer, but he has no microphone in the area, if he still can leak any information out. And let's look on the following video. It's called Mosquito, covert ultrasonic transmission between AirGap computer using speaker-to-speaker communication, and I will explain it shortly. Now we see two PCs without microphone. This is computer A, it could be AirGap computer. The next computer could be AirGap computer or any computer that's connected to the internet. And you see the panda bear. The computer A starts to transmit it to computer B. And again, computer B is equipped with no microphone. And it's slow, but it's, don't worry, the panda bear will be transferred to the other computer. I'll wait. So think about it. We have one computer which is AirGap with speakers, another computer which can be AirGap or a computer that have a connection to the internet, and the computer communicates them by speaker-to-speaker communication. What we did now is very briefly that the malware in a computer actually can reverse the connected speaker in a computer into a microphone by playing with the GPIO, converting the GPIO from output GPIO to input GPIO, and actually turn speakers, headphones, and earphones in the computer into a microphone to create what we call speaker-to-speaker communication. So now what? We have AirGap computer, which is also audio gap, no fans, and we replace the hard disk drive with a SSD drive that make no noise. And the question is now the attacker can leak data from the computer. And now we have to move to the electromagnetic covert channels. And now let's see the following video. I will have to jump because it's a long video, so I just get to the point. This was called AirHopper. Again, AirGap computer. No network, no SSD, no fans, hermetically isolated. And now I'll have to jump a little bit to save the time. Okay. And we have a nearby smartphone. I'll shortly talk what is nearby exactly what. And we see the top secret document that typed in this computer, and somehow the top secret keylog jumped to the nearby mobile phone. And if you think that it's the range is too short, and just bring a smartphone from another room, which is 8 meters away, and you see the top secret jumped to this smartphone as well. Thanks. So to understand this, I will give you a very brief introduction to electromagnetics. Electric current in a wire generates electromagnetic radiation. If we can control the current in the wire, we actually can control the radiation from the wire, including its frequency and its amplitude. And where we have a wire in the computer, we have actually the display cable. The display cable generates electromagnetic radiation, and a malware actually can control the radiation from the display screen because it can control what passes in the wire in terms of images. And not only can control it, it can adjust the frequency of this electromagnetic radiation to the FM radio band. So think about it. Malware can take the display and its cable and convert it into some kind of FM radio transmitter and modulate the data over it. And why it's so interesting? Because many of smartphones today have an FM radio receiver. So we have FM transmitter from AirGap computer, we have FM receiver from some mobile phone in the room or outside the room, and then we close the link. AirGap computer jumped into the mobile phone, and so from the mobile phone it jumped to the internet. This research, by the way, called AirHopper, bridging the AirGap between isolated networks and mobile phone using radio frequencies. In the same concept, we actually showed that a malware in a computer can use the bus between the CPU and the RAM to generate cellular signals in the band of 2G, 3G, and 4G, GSM, UMTS, and LTE. Actually, the malware takes the AirGap computer and converts it to some kind of small cellular antenna. Cellular antenna to in the close proximity, but still it works, because if we have a smartphone in the area, and even a feature phone that actually allow to some of the secure place, it can receive this cellular information and again decode the data and send it back to the attacker. And in the same concept, we show how we can use any USB connector, render the databases into antenna, and transmit data to 10 or 20 meters away from the computer, modulate any type of data that we want. So I'll not show you the video because our time is short. Now let's look to a more restrictive environment. So, given this type of electromagnetic threat, if we have really sensitive, highly sensitive data, the AirGap computer might also be placed in some kind of Faraday cage. Faraday cage is expensive, but it's really valuable data. We close the computer in a Faraday cage, so any type of electromagnetic emission will not be able to escape from this cage. And now let's look about this. We have AirGap computer, audio gap, no fans, SSD, and now it's in Faraday shield. And we ask ourselves if the attacker can still leak information from this environment, and it's a very challenging task because now the attacker has to jump the air gap and now break through the Faraday cage outside. And I want you to see the following video. It's called Houdini, escaping sensitive data from Faraday cage air gap computers via magnetic fields. This is a Faraday room. Actually, it's even more than Faraday cage. It's a room that completely isolated electromagnetically by metal walls. And just run it fast. It blocks any in and out radio signals from and to the room. And inside this room, we have AirGap computer with our malware installed in this computer. Now let's see Houdini in action. Again, we type our top secret document in the AirGap Faraday cage computer. And let's see what happened outside the Faraday room. The top secret jumped the air gap and bypassed through the Faraday cage and received by the computer outside. I won't get into much details. I just tell you that in this cover channel we use low frequency magnetic fields that actually can break through metal shields and leak data out in order to leak data out of the Faraday cage. We generate the low frequency magnetic fields from the CPU cores. We just run a special code in this course that can generate these magnetic fields and leak the data out. Again, you are invited to read the full paper. And the last one, how much time do I have? Now let's say that now we have a computer which is AirGap computer, and we put it in Faraday cage, and we also put it in a special ferromagnetic shield that even block any type of magnetic fields out of the computer. And the question is now the attacker can leak data from this type of highly isolated computer, Faraday cage, ferromagnetic shields, and the answer is yes, because we released our paper Power Hammer, exfiltrating data from AirGap computer through power lines. So the concept is that even the most secure computer inside a Faraday cage and ferromagnetic field have to connect it to the main power lines, and we were able to generate some parasitic signals on the power lines that data can be modulated over these parasitic signals, and attackers can actually tap the main power lines of the building and to receive these signals and decode them back and again send them to the attacker. So as you can see, even the most restrictive environment can be bypassed by a motivated attacker to leak data from AirGap computers. So I think we'll stop here, and if you have any questions.